want any more friends ever because of what the old friend did, says that you have the reserve sign up and you're just good by yourself. I don't need to be vulnerable in that way because that causes me to be hurt and I don't want that. But really, if you think about it, you're being hurt anyway. You know why you're being hurt anyway? Because you need a friend. God put us on this earth, not just one person, He made somebody else. So we're not supposed to be by ourselves. We weren't supposed to be off on an island of isolation. Chin Talk, your host Alicia with my iPad again. I just want to say I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for watching each week. So last week we talked about vulnerability, how to be vulnerable with someone and why it's important to be vulnerable. I'm sure some people will still say absolutely not, absolutely not. But when you're at a place where you want to grow and you want to rise above the occasion and you want to do something different than you've always done, then that's going to require you to be vulnerable. There's no way you can be in this life and be the same way all the time, every day, get older and older, age every year, and then you think you're going to grow. You are going to have to stand up and let your wings spread out and not worry about what's going to happen. You just have to just kind of let yourself go. So the question is, when you're vulnerable, does that mean you just let somebody walk all over you because you're now so open? You just let them walk in and just stamp all over you? Does it say just, hey, here I am, the door is open, you can come in and just walk all over me? Is that what vulnerability is? Or does it maybe mean that, but also it means that you have to have wisdom, you have to be wise. You can't just, the door can be open. I don't want to have the reserved button always up on my forehead. I don't want to be reserved all the time. Because sometimes we can have preconceived notions of people and things because of our past and history and experiences, that we could have that. This is reserved not for you. This is a reserved space in my emotions, and it doesn't require you to be in it ever. We could do that, and it could harm us in the long run because, again, if we want to grow, if we want to rise, if we want to be like Christ, isolation and being reserved and hold back is not always the way to go. So it's opening the door and not allowing you to walk over me, but I've opened the door and you have the opportunity to, because I am not afraid. I am not afraid because God doesn't want me to be walked all over. So if I open the door, because I'm not trying to hold on to myself and what I understand and what I can do and all the things, how can we say, Jesus, take the wheel? God, you're in control. If really that's not the case. Really, you're in control because you're saying, I'm not going to be friends with that person ever again. Say, because of that person, now I don't want any new friends because of the way that old friend did to me. So I don't want any new friends. Maybe you can become wiser with your new friend, but to say, I don't want any more friends ever because of what the old friend did, says that you have the reserve sign up and you're just good by yourself. I don't need to be vulnerable in that way because that causes me to be hurt and I don't want that. But really, if you think about it, you're being hurt anyway. You know why you're being hurt anyway? Because you need a friend. God put us on this earth, not just one person. He made somebody else. He created man and then he made the woman. So we're not supposed to be by ourselves. We weren't supposed to be off on an island of isolation. So maybe that friend did do you wrong, but that doesn't say shut the door to every friend that comes along. That's the difference. And what is vulnerability? Vulnerability means allowing yourself to be seen without having armor up, allowing yourself to be seen. Some people don't want to be seen, but that's what vulnerability is. You got to allow yourself. Doesn't mean I'm allowing you to come in and walk over me, or I'm giving you permission to do that. But However, I'm opening myself up to friends. Hey, if you don't show to be a friend or you don't show to be friendly, then I know where to go. It has boundaries. That's where I'm getting at today. Was vulnerability. I'm going to talk about the benefits of it and the boundaries because there's a difference. It just doesn't mean I'm just going to walk into a mess. I see a mess happening. It doesn't mean I'm just going to walk into it and just doesn't mean that. You have to have wisdom, you have to have boundaries, and you have to listen to the voice of God. I want to say I trust God. I trust God more than I want to feel safe with myself. If I see myself, I can only take myself so far. I can only, because I only know so much. My thoughts are limited. I don't know the future, all those things. And so I don't want to hinder God taking me to a place because I got the reserve sign up. So I want to make sure that you know that I'm saying trust God more than you want to be safe. It's more important to trust God more than you protecting yourself. That's what I'm getting at. More than you're protecting yourself, trust God. Okay, so the first benefit of being vulnerable is being vulnerable deepens relationships. It's so good. Man, you can be honest with somebody, open and honest, and you guys have created a safe space to talk, to reveal things, to be more open and understanding. That deepens your relationship. That causes intimacy. It causes intimacy, and not just in like a partnership, a marriage, but intimacy in a friendship. That's how people become close friends. Like, oh, that's my girl. Because you can trust that person. You guys have created a safe space between you, and you can create that bond, that intimacy. Okay, so benefit number two, it's emotional freedom. Emotional freedom, holding on to everything is exhausting. It's exhausting. So the benefit of being vulnerable, especially with someone who's like a friend, man, it creates emotional freedom. You can just be yourself. That's like the best thing. When I can be around somebody and I can just be myself, that is so good. You know how sometimes you say you go on the first date and the girl, she's like, "Oh, I think Eddie Murphy, somebody said, "Oh, I'll just have a salad." Knowing you want that burger, knowing you want that chicken, knowing you want something meatier. But you just say, "Oh no, I'm just going to eat this salad," because you're not showing up as yourself. You have this ambassador, somebody showing up for you, and that's not who you really are. So when you're vulnerable, when you're like, you know what, hey, look, I love it when somebody comes to my house and I say, "Hey, would you like some such and such?" Instead of saying no because they know they really want it, they're like, "Oh yeah, sure." I'm like, "Okay, let's get some." Or if I make some cake, I'm a baker, so I make cakes or cookies or something like that, and or if I fix some food or whatever, and I'm like, "Hey, do you want something?" They're like, "Oh, no, I'm not hungry, no problem." But then when they leave, they go get something to eat because they were hungry. Maybe they didn't want to eat your food. Maybe they didn't want to eat your food. I don't know. But I'm a pretty good baker. So, I love when people say, "Yeah, sure." It's awesome because I feel like that's a side that's vulnerable. I remember one time I did that when I was younger. I wanted my friend's mom made some pound cake and it looked amazing and I love to bake. I was a young girl and her mom says, "Well, do you want some?" And I said, "Oh, no, thank you. I don't want any." But when I got outside, I told my friend, I was like, "Girl, that cake looks so good. I wanted some cake." She told her mom. She told her mom that I wanted cake, and I said, "I will never do that again." And my mom always said, "Don't miss out. You're gonna miss out. When somebody asks you, do you want something, and you want it, then say yes. Don't miss out on life because now you can't, be vulnerable and say, 'Yeah, I want cake.'" I don't know why I said no. I don't know why I said no, but I did. Anyway, therefore, it creates emotional freedom. And number three, it's it brings increased confidence. I learned from that lesson by saying no when I really did want something. Now it builds from there because you say to yourself, I missed out on an opportunity, even though it was just a piece of cake. I missed out on an opportunity because I said no and I really wanted it. But that was just the cake. That could happen in so many other areas where you miss out on things because you're like, oh, no, no, thank you. But you really wanted it. So it increases your confidence. The more you're vulnerable, the more your confidence goes up because it's like, what can you do to me? You can't do anything to me, nothing to me. So why do I care what you think? Why do I care what you say? I should not care so much so that I'm hindered in now getting things that I want in life, things that I desire, because I am afraid to say yes, or I'm afraid to expose myself. You know what? Hey, there was times when I was with some friends and we walked, you know how you come in a building and we thought we were coming in the back so we can kind of quickly get a seat. But we wind up walking in the front of the building and we realized that we couldn't turn around and go back and they said, "Oh, I'm not walking out. There's no way I'm walking out first." And I'm like, why? Who cares? Okay, we got it wrong. Like, excuse me, sorry. But what I did, I led the pack. I said, I'm gonna go first. It's what can you do to me? Hi, I'm so sorry. Yeah, but apologize and move on. Um, life is too short. And I am not going to be sitting back here worried about what somebody says all the time. Afraid to, just be out in the front. I'm not saying I need to be in the front, but when it causes for me to have to stand up and be in the front, then I have learned to do that because it increased my confidence. The more vulnerable I am, the more I, get in situations where it's like, okay, this is bigger than me. It causes me to depend on God more. It decrease myself, depend on God, I can do anything. I'm confident in that. Not necessarily confident so much in myself, but because I decrease myself and depend on God, it causes me to be more confident in Him. And then I can just move on. I can do anything. What the scriptures say, Philippians 4, I think 13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's what I do. Okay. And there's so much power in that. There's like so much power in that when you have that increased confidence in the Lord because you depend on Him and not yourself. Okay. So number 4, it says it shows authentic leadership. My husband always says, be yourself, be authentic. People relate to being authentic. If you're not authentic, if you're not relatable, people can't relate to you. You need to be relatable. And a lot of times, just being honest, just being showing that, hey, I can be vulnerable too. I am human. I am human. So you can relate to me. If I can share my thoughts and be honest, then I can be relatable. I can be authentic. And it's a great way to show in leadership when you're relatable, when you're authentic, and when you are vulnerable. You don't have to be perfect all the time, but it allows you to relate to people when you see they're not perfect. And some people look at that as a bad way and say, "Oh man, I'm so glad that you're not perfect because I thought you was perfect, and that's why I didn't like you." Sometimes people want you to be flawed, and that's okay. I don't care. I'm flawed. Everybody's flawed. Everybody's not perfect, but in Christ, I'm the bomb. In Christ, I'm the bomb. And nobody might not agree with that, but God agrees with that. And that's good enough for me. Okay. And lastly, I want to say, because it's almost been 15 minutes. Lastly, I want to say this. When it comes to having the benefits of being vulnerable, this is one of the greatest things you have to remember. Create strong boundaries because everybody does not need to have access to you all the time. Everybody doesn't need to have access all the time. Everybody doesn't deserve access from you all the time. Remember, you have to have these inner court relationships and outer court relationships. Know the difference. There's some people that you can be completely vulnerable with, and then there are some people that you cannot. Some people can't handle certain types of being vulnerable. Like, see, for instance, a person in leadership, you just can't say everything. I remember when my husband would go, when he was in Iraq, he couldn't always, show fear, because when you're the leader, you have to show strength. So there's times when you can be vulnerable, but when your crew is afraid, they don't want the leader to be afraid. They don't want the leader to be like, oh my God, if he's scared, then what's up with us? So you want to the leader should show some boundaries and be confident in knowing whatever the order has been said. Now, I've not been out in the battlefield, but what I'm saying is, what I have learned is that if the leader says what they say, you want to have confidence in that. But if they look like they're shaking in their boots, then it's going to lessen the confidence of the people who's following you. So sometimes, was what I'm saying, the boundary, you have to know what type of vulnerability to be, and when to be vulnerable to the people that you are leading, because that could be detrimental to the outcome of the task that you have before you. So, and I believe as you keep growing and as you continue to build strong boundaries, God will give you discernment that you need, and you'll be able to discern when those times are to be opened up and said something, and when it's time for you to close it up. Speaking of closing it up, it's my time. So I thank you guys for listening. I thank you guys for sticking with me this far. Again, I want you to be the best version of yourself that you can be. And so next time, like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you then. Bye.